crops. Now today we have seen the pest of maize. So maize mainly infected by various pests. Also that pest infested to many cereals, in that stem fly, stem borer, pink stem borer, cornworm, Helicoverpa parmesera, earhead bug, webworm, ashweed, leafhoppers, aphids, shoot bug. Major pest of maize. Also this pest we have seen in the sorghum, that is the stem borer, pink stem borer, cornworm, that is the earhead caterpillar. So we can see the now past few years, one major pest which is causes huge loss in a maize crop. That pest is the fall armyworm. So this pest in last 2 years caused huge or destructive losses in a maize crop, and due to that pest, a huge or tremendous economical losses to the farmers. So today in that we see the pest of maize, in that major pest, that is the fall armyworm. So fall armyworm, that is the scientific name Spodoptera frugiperda, family Noctuidae, order Lepidoptera. So this is the Lepidopteran pest, having larval stage is the damaging stage, and adult one is the moth. So this fall armyworm scientific name frugiperda. This is the Latin word meaning of that frugiperda, that is the loss of a fruit. So this frugiperda names given to that species because that species having the ability to destroy entire crops in a severe damage. So another remarkable trait of the larva is that they practice cannibalism. So cannibalism means larval species feeds on other members of the same individuals of their species. That's why this practice is mainly called as a cannibalism. कॅनिबॅलिझम म्हणजे काय की एकाच स्पेसिस मधल्या लार्वा दुसऱ्या लार्वावरती फिडिंग करतात इन द अब्सेन्स ऑफ देअर फूड. दॅट इज कॉल्ड ॲज अ कॅनिबॅलिझम. एक लार्वा दुसऱ्या लार्वावरती फिडिंग करतात. सो दिस कॅनिबॅलिझम practice mainly found in Helicoverpa parmesera as well as in Spodoptera frugiperda. So this fall armyworm, also called as FAW, is an insect pest that feeds on more than 80 crop species but severely cause damage to the most of the cereals, in that maize crop. This is the severely infected by that pest. Other than the maize, mainly cereal crops, rice, sorghum, also legumes, vegetables, and cotton. So this is the wide host range of that pest. That's why this pest cause huge damage to the maize, particularly maize crop. Its native place of that fall armyworm, that is the tropical, subtropical regions of Americas. So origin of that pest is the America, subtropical, tropical region. High infestation can lead to the significant yield loss due to that fall armyworm. This is the larval stage of that fall armyworm. Is an insect pest that can feed on more than 80 crop species but prefers mainly maize. It is native to the Americas but has now spread across sub-Saharan Africa or mostly throughout the world. So this fall armyworm mainly a migratory lepidopteran pest species which having a wide host range. Scientific name Spodoptera fusiforda, common name fall armyworm. Origin tropical regions of South America, mainly Brazil, Argentina, and the Caribbean region, also present in some southern states of the USA, Texas, Florida. This is the origin of that pest. This is the serious pest of maize in Brazil and other countries in Africa. In 2016, reported near about 30 to 60% yield loss in maize. The adult moths are strong flyers for migrating to new areas on prevailing winds and weather systems. So this adult stage of that pest mainly a strong flyers, means strong flyers, that is having a very strong fly from one place to another place. A single adult moth can fly near about 100 kilometer distance in a single night or in a one night. एका रात्रीमध्ये ते जवळपास 100 किलोमीटर एवढं डिस्टन्स ते मायग्रेट करू शकतात किंवा फ्लाय करू शकतात. दॅट्स व्हाय इट इज कॉल्ड एज अ स्ट्रॉंग फ्लायर्स. This is the strong migratory pest, native America, tropical region of the America from the United States to Argentina and the Caribbean region. This is the polyphagous species, almost 80 host plants recorded in 26 families. Prefers gramineous plants, mainly grass species, including economically important crops, mainly maize, millet, sorghum, rice, wheat, sugarcane, etc. So this is the fall armyworm map of the various countries where the fall armyworm infestation which is noticed. In our India, totally in our country, this pest is widely spread. So fall armyworm can fly a long distance near about 100 kilometer per night and to 2000 kilometer per lifetime, having a 6 larval instars. Larval period is near about 14 to 28 days. Female can deposit eggs in a groups or in a clusters of 50 to a few hundred, and one can lay up to 2000 eggs in a life cycle. So near about 6 to 12 generations completed in 1 year or per season. Mark of identification of that pest, mainly first initial stage in their life cycle, that is the eggs. Eggs, mainly their shape of the eggs is a dome-like shape and measures about 0.4 mm in diameter and 0.3 mm in a height, having a egg shape, having a looks like a dome. Females mainly prefers site of position, that is the under surface of leaves, but in case of high population they also deposit their eggs just above the leaves or anywhere of the plant parts. In warm condition, the eggs will hatch into larva within a few days. So eggs of that fall armyworm mainly deposit in groups, and that eggs mainly covered with hairs. So these are the larvae which are comes out from the eggs. Next, second stage of that life cycle, that is the larval stage, having 6 different instars, each carrying a slightly physical appearance and pattern. So larva having lifespan is near about 14 to 30 days, again depending upon the temperature. The mature caterpillar, which measures about 1.5 to 2 inches, having size that is the 38 to 51 mm in length. This is the most destructive life stage as the larva have biting type of a mouth parts. The larva have a distinct inverted Y suture on their forehead. So here we can see the inverted Y shape structure on their forehead. This is the specific mark of identification character in that larva. Also on the dorsal region of their body of a larva having a four large spots in a square arrangement on the dorsal surface of a second last abdominal segment, and also four smaller spots in a trapezy arrangement on dorsal surface of the other segments. Then pale lateral dorsal lines. These are the pale lateral dorsal lines we can see on that body of a larva. Then pale dorsal lines also observed on the dorsal region. Darker lateral bands also seen on the body of that larva. Then lighter dorsal area also seen in the body of a larva. These are the mark of identification of that larval stage. So first is the inverted Y-shaped suture on the forehead, then four large spots in a square arrangement on the dorsal surface of the second last segment, then four smaller spots in the trapezy arrangement on the dorsal surface of the other segments. So then dorsal lines, pale dorsal lines also seen on the body of that larval stage. Here also the inverted Y-shaped suture on the forehead, then various broad pale lines on the dorsal region, and four dark spots on the second last abdominal segment. This one is the initial first instar stage, having a creamy white in color of a body, and blisters or hair-like structures growths observed on the body, and their head mainly a dark blackish or brownish in color. So these are the various 6 instars of that fall army worm. So in that 6 instars, their color of that larva slightly changes. Also the various patterns also observed on that body of a larva during their growth. The next third one, life cycle stage, that is the pupal stage, which mainly pupa of that pest found in a soil, having pupal days is near about 7 to 37 days duration, and survival of the pupal stage depends on the temperature and the environment. Temperature of the environment. So this pupal stage mainly found in soil or in a silk on the plant. So this one is the adult stage of that pest. Adult moth mainly measures 30 to 40 mm wings tip to wing tip length, with a brown or gray forewings and a white hind wings. Brown or gray colored forewings and white hind wings. There is a slight sexual dimorphism, with male having more pattern and a distinct white spots on each of their forewings. So these are the small or slightly sexual dimorphism in the male and female, having a two distinct white spots on each of the forewings in a female of a fall armivore. Life cycle of that pest having 4 life stages: eggs, larval, pupal, and adult stage. So female moth mainly deposit their eggs near about 1,000 eggs in here lifetime, and it can having a several generation per year depending upon the temperature. So eggs are laid in a masses or in a groups of 50 to 200 eggs in a groups, and that eggs will be hatched within a 2 to 3 days depending upon the climatic condition. Then larval stage having a 6 instars of that larva, and larval period is 14 to 22 days. Then pupal stage is mainly pupa of that pest found in the soil or in the silk on the plants. Pupal period is near about 8 to 30 days depending upon the temperature. Adult female lives on an average of 10 days up to 21 days. So total life cycle of that pest is completed within 35 to 40 days. Then nature of damage. So damaging stage of that pest is the larval stage, is the damaging stage of that pest. So mainly initially after hatching from the eggs, these larva prefers tender leaves for their feeding. So it feeds on the leaves especially when they are still at younger growth stages. Generally this larva feeds on foliage, but during heavy infestation larva also feeds on corns. Foliar damage to corn is usually characterized by the ragged feeding and moist sawdust like frost near the leaf whorl and upper leaves of the plants. So this is the specific types of damage due to that fall armyworm. So this fall armyworm mainly initially they feeds on the tender leaves. After in case of say a heavy infestation, they their feeding is increased. Also moist sawdust like frost comes out from that infested portion of the plant. In maize, their damage also seen on the silk of that developing corns, and due to that infestation maybe problem maybe in a pollination of the maize. Then also this pest cause damage to the early leaf whorl feeding damage, stalk damage and tassel feeding. So due to the infestation of that pest, totally all the plant parts infected by that pest: leaves, then foliage, then shoots, then cones. So totally all plant parts infested by that pest. So here you can see the various infestation portions infested by the fall armyworm. Mainly they feeds on the leaves, then also on the shoots, then mainly mass that is the excreta or feeding portion we can observe on the infested portion of the plants, also enters in the into the stalk of that maize, also feed on the shoot portion. This one is the excreta and feeding mass comes out from their infestation. Here is the larval stage mainly feeding on the shoot portion of the maize. Then also cause damage to the developing corns in case of severe infestation. So all the portion of the plants they can infested. Then management strategies for that infestation of that pest: first, pest monitoring and surveillance. According to the pest monitoring and surveillance, we can initiate the management practices. So there are the two approaches for the monitoring of that pest. In that, trapping of a adult stage by using a sex pheromone traps. So pheromone traps in that mainly male moths. We should monitor the total numbers of pest population in the infested field. Then scouting is another method for the pest monitoring and surveillance. In that scouting, plants are infected, is inspected details according to the various angles, morning hours, evening hours, infected plants on which stage, or how much percentage of damage we should calculate during the inspection, different aspects of the damage, and the presence or and or the presence or numbers of eggs, different sizes of larva. This should be considered for the scouting of that pest. Then ETL level of that pest. So in that pheromone traps catches 10 to 20 per night moths, or 70 to 100 per week. At that time we should apply the control measures. Or egg masses present more than 5% of the plants, or 25% of the plants show damage symptoms and live larva are still present. Then another ETL level, 5% seedlings are cut, or 20% pearl of small plant are infected within first 30 days. So these are the various ETL levels. At that time we should initiate the management practices. 10 to 20 moths catch per night, or 5% eggs mass is present, 25% plant shows damage, or 5% seedlings are cut, or 20% pearl of the small plants are infected. Then prevention, which preventive strategies useful for the management of that pest. In that, planting dates. So avoid, mainly should avoid the late planting, avoid staggered planting, as this would continue provide the favored foods for the fall armyworm. So late planting should be avoided, or avoid a staggered planting. In that way, we should minimize the infestation of the fall armyworm. Then good soil health, adequate moisture are critical. So essential to grow, soil is essential for the better growth of a plant, which can better withstand pest infestation damage. Also, unbalanced inorganic fertilizers leads to the increase the population of fall armyworm. So that's why maintain a good health of a soil. Some cultural pest management measures suggested for the farmers. In that, early planting, avoid late planting, use early maturing varieties, intercropping with maize, intercropping maize with beans also helpful, removal of weeds, remove and destroy all crop residues, rotate maize with non-host plant. Then plowing, cultivating to expose larva and pupa, hand picking of egg masses and larva, applying sand, mixed this sand with lime or ash in a whirl of the maize, or sawdust or soil in the whirl. These are the preventive measures. Then next one, that is the push and pull technology. This is the habitat management strategy for the management of that pest. So what is the push and pull technology? So in that technology, repellent intercrops mainly grow in a along with a main maize crop. Repellent intercropping should be done along with a maize crop. So which is the repellent intercrop? That is the Desmodium as a push. So we can push the this fall armyworm from our main field to the outside the field, and attractive trap plants mainly Napier grass or Brachy era grass, which used for the attraction purpose on the in the these attractive plants should be planted along the border of that maize or main plant. So these are the napier grass or napier grass should be grown along with the border of a main crops. So these crops should be attract the fall armyworms from their main fields, and these intercrops along with the intercrops, mainly this is the Desmodium used as a intercrops along with the maize. So this Desmodium should be useful for the pull. This Desmodium intercrop should be used as a push technology from that main field. This fall armyworm pest should be pushed towards the attractant crops. So these trap crops attract the fall armyworms, and these intercrops, mainly Desmodium species, should be push this pest from their main field. So napier grass planted around the maize farm attracts stem borers, also fall armyworm to deposit their eggs. So we should prevent the our maize crop, but it does not allow larva to develop on that grass because having a poor nutrition. So very few larvae can survive on that napier grass. So that's why napier grass should be planted along a border of a maize farm for attraction of the fall armyworms adults for deposition of their eggs. That's why this act as a trap crop. Then this Desmodium planted as a intercrops emits mainly volatile substance from that plants. That's why they fall armyworms larva or adults should be repelled from that main field, covers the ground surface between maize, and thus also prevent the emergence of weeds, enrich the soil with nitrogen, preserve soil moisture, and protect the soil from erosion. So these are the effective strategy, that is the push and pull technology. Here also in that figure, that is the Brachimeria grass is planted in on a border of a sorghum field, and Desmodium crop is planted along with the intercropping with the sorghum. So this Desmodium act as a push from the main field to the this Brachimeria grass. Due to that, Desmodium roots also control the striga weeds in the main field, and that is also the host of that fall armyworms. So that is the pull and push technology, helpful for the management of that pest. BC madam na hai. Then mechanical control measures, in that farmers should visit field twice a week during vegetative stage, especially in periods of heavy oviposition by fall armyworm, and once a week or every 15 days in latter stages. So at the time of oviposition, we should conduct field visit twice a week. आठवड्यातून 2 वेळा आपल्याला field visit करणे गरजेचे असते. Crushed egg masses, also young larvae should be destroyed using ash, sand, sawdust, or dirt into a furl of the maize to control the larval stage. Ash, sand, sawdust may desiccate young larvae. Desiccate means this ash or sand or sawdust act as a remove the moisture from their body, and that's why these larvae should be desiccated and killed or dead of that larva due to the desiccation. That's why ash, sand, or sawdust should be applied in the infested whorl of a maize. Then dirt may contain entomopathogenic nematodes, also effective for the control of that pest. Then NPV virus, nucleopolyhedrosis virus, bacteria, Bacillus thuringiensis species that can kill the fall armyworm larva. So in that picture we seen the application of sand or ash into the infested whorl of a maize crop. So which due to that ash or sand desiccation takes place in the body of a fall armyworm, and this will be killed. Using lime, salt, oil, and soaps as control practices, lime and ash are very alkaline in nature. That's why this larva will be killed. Use local botanicals, neem, hot pepper, local plants. Effectively pouring water in the maize whorl, also effective for the management. Use sugary spray, oil, lard, fish soap, other materials to attract ants, wasps. They act as a predator on that fall armyworm. Then biological control agents, most common parasitoids, mainly Telenomus, Remus. This is the effective parasitoid. Parasitism rate is near about 80%. Then Chilonas insularis, each female can parasitize about 600 eggs of that fall armyworm. Then Trichogramma species parasitize near about, can parasitize up to 120 moth eggs. Then larval parasitoids mainly for fall armyworms, that is the Campolitis, Sonorensis, Habro, Bracon, Hebetor, Pinthemia, Trientis. These are the larval parasitoids, mainly infect the larval stage of fall armyworm. Then predators, mainly earwings. Two species are currently recognized to play a significant role as a fall armyworm eggs predator in a maize crop: Doru, UTFs, and Ubro Relia annulips. These are the two species of earwings, mainly predator the eggs of fall armyworm. Ground beetles, many carabid beetles occurring in a maize cropping are also known of their predatory habits, mainly on the larval stage and adults. Calosoma granulatunum has been observed to feed on the young fall armyworm caterpillars. Then fall armyworm egg masses consumed by the spotted ladybird beetle. These are the effective predators: earwings, then ground beetles, and spotted ladybird beetles are the effective predators. Asian and flower bugs use social, solitary, and other predatory wasps, spiders, ants, also effective predators for the fall armyworm. Then entomopathogens, mainly nuclear polyhedrosis, virus. Then fungi in that three species: Metarhizium, Anisopli, Nomuria, Rili, Beveria, Bassiana. These are the effective fungi based pathogens. Then bacteria in that Bacillus thuringiensis is the effective for the management of that fall armyworm. In that picture we can see the fungus infected various larval stages of fall armyworm. So mainly due to the infestation of a fungi, a white cottony growth of that fungi takes place on their total body, and death occurs due to that infested fungus. Then virus infected fall armyworm. This is the nuclear polyhedrosis virus infected fall armyworm in the infested field. Then next management practices: azadirachtin spray should be taken 5% spray, then poison baiting with 5D Clark. In that poison baiting, mix 10 kg rice bran plus 2 kg jaggery plus 2 to 3 liters of water. Keep this mixture for 24 hours for fermentation. Add 100 gram thiodicarb just half an hour before the application in the field. This bait application also helpful for the infestation, minimize the infestation of that fall armyworm. As Nomuria relay, this is the fungus based insecticide was recorded infecting larvae in the field. Hence, spraying Nomuria relay on 50 to 30 days crop will be helpful for the checking the pest. Then application of imamectin benzoate at the rate 80 to 100 grams per acre. These are the effective management practices for the fall armyworm. Okay, so this is all about the pest of maize. Another pest we have already learned in the pest of sorghum. So this is the fall armyworm, all about the fall armyworm. Newly recorded species on the maize during the last 2 years and cause huge loss or damage in infested states of our country, and also reduce the yield of a maize crop. Production also mainly deflected due to the infestation of that pest. So anyone have any queries, please ask. ह्याच्यामध्ये कोणाला काही शंका असेल फॉल आर्मीवर्म बद्दल तर विचारू शकता. कोणाला काही शंका नाही. ठीक आहे.